Welcome to the Dear Doc podcast, where we will discuss the business of running a dental practice with a panel of experts. Now, your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower. Thanks for listening to the Dear Doc podcast, your source for the business and legal questions associated with your dental practice. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dear Doc podcast on all major platforms.
Hey guys, thank you for joining me again for the Dear Doc podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower, and I'm coming to you right now from my studio here in Alvin, Texas. Now, you may notice a couple of things have changed around. I'm kind of experimenting with some of the things I'm doing and adding some new equipment. Thank you for your patience if this all just goes horribly wrong. Today, I'm actually getting to spend some time with one of my favorite people in the world, someone who is near and dear to my heart, and someone who is near and dear to my practice, actually. She's a neighbor of mine, a friend and an educator, and just one of the best people I know in general. And that is Dr. Meghna Dassani.
Why are you being nice to me again?
I don't, you paid me, didn't you? Did your people pay my people?
And food, maybe.
Yeah, well, this is true. So, Meghna, talk to me. You teach sleep apnea. And,
I've taught you?
You have taught me. One of the best classes I ever took, actually.
Well, thank you.
And I was the opinionated guy, by the way, who kept asking question after question after question. You can see from her face, it's true. Because I like to get every dollar's worth out of any CE that I'm taking. And so I took your class. I actually was introduced to you by a mutual friend. We probably would have met anyway, but that would be Dr. Glenn Vo. And so just the short of it, I know that you have a really compelling story about why it is that you began down this journey. And I know that it's an intensely personal story, but you've told it a few times now. And so I'm going to ask you to go ahead and tell it publicly, if that's okay.
Absolutely. As with anything that is important to us, right? That touches our heart, that becomes our why. Most of those things are personal. And with me, it was losing my father-in-law. As a newlywed, I remember like I was watching a movie. I was studying for my national boards. Yes, foreign trained dentists take their national boards before to get accepted into dental school. And I remember this phone call because my husband worked in Baytown, which is about 40 minutes away from us. And 5 a.m. in the morning, my mom called. Now, if you live away from home, you know, early morning or late night calls are never
Always
good
a bad
news.
thing.
And the only thing my mom said was, you guys need to come home. And we found out that my father-in-law, who was 56, had died of a heart attack. He was relatively healthy. He wasn't overweight, no other comorbidities that we knew about. And well, we got to go home. So we're on our flight home. And I remember I was, as you're always telling me, I was being a girl, like complete hot mess, crying. I had everybody worried. But my husband, on the other hand, was sitting next to me, and I guess he was being a boy. I don't know. He was just as strong as he could be. And I turned and I looked at him and I said, you got to show some emotion. This is not healthy. And I remember him turning to me and he shrugged his shoulders and he said, all the men in my family have died at 56. And he has a brother. And
there's him.
Well, so the two boys, right? Their grandfather passed at 56, another uncle passed at that age, and now his dad. So it's been told that it's genetic in your family. And my husband came with an expiration date. Who knew? We all do, but he actually knew his. And that was just unacceptable to me. not because he was my husband, but the fact that in this day and age, we are okay with somebody telling us that this is what it's going to be. You're supposed to live without teeth all your life. No, you don't accept that fact. And well, I didn't argue with him then, of course. I said, okay. We went back, we went home, and in our culture, it's 13 days of mourning. So while the rest of the family did what they needed to do, I gathered every single piece of medical record, possibly, thank goodness for some people that hoard stuff, right? And I went from doctor to doctor asking questions.
And I was about to point out one of the things that you said, and this is so often what we find in patients who have sleep apnea. You said, as far as we knew, he didn't have anything else going on. So when we begin digging into these records, of course, I have a saying that I tell my people, whenever I'm bored at the office, I go looking for things. And I said, when you open closets, shit falls on your head.
Absolutely.
And when shit falls on my head, I get upset. So it's in your best interest to keep me busy. So you went
Amen
looking,
to that. Yes,
and
yes.
you found what?
It was sleep apnea. I honestly, now this was how many years ago? I don't know that he had a CPAP. I know for sure there was no appliance that he could have used.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he had a CPAP and disliked using it, or maybe the alternative, the option was never given to him. Because growing up, and I remember my dad used to snore. It was the funniest thing, right? It was like, daddy's snoring. I'm sure you did that too, growing up.
That, and you see kids, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. People say, "Oh, look, it's so cute."
They're going to outgrow it.
Blankets are all over the place, and
drives me nuts.
they're going to outgrow the grinding, or they're going to outgrow the snoring, or oh gosh, isn't it cute when they snore?
Or worse, right? When they have other symptoms, behavioral issues, we attribute it to he's just being a boy.
And we're going to jump into that a little bit later, but you're going to learn whenever you take Meghna's courses that even things you can't unsee some of this stuff. In fact, you can't unsee any of it. Whenever you see someone smile and you see the cute little dimple show up, we're going to talk about why that should just break your heart. So continue on.
So I refuse to accept the fact that there was nothing to do but create memories until he turns 56. By the way, he's 47. So you're telling me I have 9 more years.
Right.
And as with anything, when I'm a woman on a mission,
it's hardly fair because Raul does not look older than me. It's all like good Indian food.
So I went looking for answers, and the more I looked into it, for what it's worth, he does have sleep apnea. He has mild sleep apnea, and the CPAP is the gold standard. And we offered that as a treatment alternative. And his response to me, despite knowing the family history and everything that comes with it, was, I'm not going to use that. Figure it out. Well, yes, sir. I will get right on it.
Well, that's funny because he's usually not the stuff. If you're on video, you just saw what I said. He's not the stubborn one in my experience, but in this one instance,
I only surround myself
with stubborn men,
with sweet people, except one.
There's that guy in the corner.
There is no guy in the corner.
So anyway, this got you on the road, and it became, as it really did, I think for most people who begin studying it, just this horrible rabbit hole, because the further you go down the hole, the more hole there is.
And then it got into, I only wanted to do this for him. I didn't know anything about sleep dentistry, or that it could even be considered a profit center within the practice, or that there were more people that might want to do it. And then I talked to my team and got them trained. And my office manager's dad wanted to be our first patient.
Not just trained, but they became your journey itself.
It is, because then you start with wanting to do it for your family, right? But then who is your family? You're my family. Her dad is my family. My patients are my family. And God knows I bug you enough about your appliance. And that family just grew and continued to grow to where today I had a patient that drove in from the Woodlands.
Wow.
For that. Now tell me, there are hundreds of qualified doctors in and around Houston that do this, offer this.
Mm-hmm.
But something has to resonate with somebody somewhere, or someone knows somebody, or they're my family.
Right.
And
the family of family of family of family.
It
Because this is
does.
the kind of thing that I'm going to tell a little bit about my journey. Do you remember my story about Miss Griffin?
I do. Go ahead.
So I had this patient, and she came in with her daughter, and the daughter says, "Dr. Huffpower, I heard that dentists can make snoring devices or anti-snoring devices. Can you please, please, please do something about my mother? We're living together now, and I think I'm going to kill her as much as I love her." And so Miss Shirley, her mother, looks at me and she says that her snoring doesn't bother her at all. And so after some discussion, I ended up making her a sleep appliance. Now, this was back in 2012. It was right after I got out of dental school. And at that point, sleep apnea wasn't a really well-known thing in the field of dentistry. Certainly not as much so as you've made it become. So I make this device for her, and she goes home and she comes back for my 2-week post-op, which I always do for these patients, or for patients for any kind of surgery or anything that I want to make sure I can track what happened. And I said, "So Miss Shirley, how are you doing today?" And she says, "Dr. Huffpower, I'm doing fantastic." And this is a little old lady who would just kind of sigh and sit in the chair and be quiet. She's all agitated, but in a good way. She's excited. She's energetic. And I said, "Well, Miss Shirley, I can tell from your excitement that you're not snoring anymore." And she said, "Oh no, Dr. Huffpower, I'm still snoring." And I said, well, why are you so excited?" She said, "Well, this morning I woke up at 6:00 in the morning and I cleaned my living room, and then I cleaned my bedroom. I did the dishes, I did the laundry. And then I think whenever I go home, I'm going to do the lawn work." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, that's all really exciting, but why is this important?" She said, "Well, I woke up this morning, and every night since I've gotten this device, I've been waking up with so much energy in the morning that I get all my work done during the day. I just feel great." And I said, "Well, surely I read something about sleep apnea, and I think maybe you've got it." She said, "Well, Dr. Huffpower, I do. I just can't stand my CPAP. This thing fixes me right up." And so it was at that point I started really researching. If you remember, it was the end of 2012, early 2013, when the Medical Association sued the Dental Association
Correct.
in Texas here. And one of the things that they said was that the prescription of a snoring appliance without actually having a test done to see if the patient has sleep apnea is tacit diagnosis of a non-sleep apnea condition, which means that you were practicing medicine without a license. And that really horrified me. And so I started taking courses in it just to make sure, that I wasn't not just that I wasn't harming my patients, which was really important to me, but that I wasn't putting myself in legal jeopardy because I didn't know about sleep apnea,
Right.
which I think is how everyone should feel at this point. And so that kind of started my journey. And, by the by, I ended up meeting Meghna, and really taught me a lot more about implementation than I think anyone else had at that point. I still suck at it, just in case anyone wants to know.
No, you don't.
So anyway.
You better not. How about that?
So now that kind of brings us to where you are right now. You've done a lot of different courses. And I want to talk specifically about this one. I want to talk about some of the signs and symptoms that people can notice now before having taken a class and knowing how to treat it. At least they can be aware. You have recently, though, been doing something that I'm just super proud of you about. And I really can't wait until the rest of the world knows about it. I had two big projects of yours. One I'm not allowed to talk about, even though you should finish it, but we'll leave it at that. And the other one is actually an oral appliance that not just makes a difference and not just addresses symptoms, but can actually, in fact, and I'm gonna say this because she can't say it and no one can say it until the medical claims are proven in this area, but may actually be a cure for some conditions that cause sleep apnea. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, my big why again behind this was, and I'm going to backtrack just a tiny bit, getting into adult sleep apnea. And as I started to do more cases, this was still just me treating my family, right? All my patients, my loved ones, people that needed help. And then I'd have friends that would say, hey, can I come hang out with you? Like, watch how you do it. Because of course I want to add this to my practice. I have a husband that snores or whatever.
Right.
Yes, of course. And at some point we'd have like an entire team in our office. And at that point we were in our old office, which you haven't seen, which was 3 operatories. So it would be,
that sounds familiar.
Well, it was smaller than your space too,
wow.
though. Yeah. And it got to a point where finally somebody said, would you just put together like a formal training for all of us so we can bring our teams and do it? And I'm still going, yeah, right. Who wants to learn from me? I mean, what have I done? I just do it in my practice. But little did I know that implementation, which is actually, and I'm proud to say this, one of my stronger suits. Give me something, I'll make a system around it and make sure you and the rest of the world can do it. So we started to develop that, and we started to teach other doctors and their teams. And one day I remember we were going over the slides, and Christina, who's been with me since day one, who's my office manager, has been for 10 years. We're looking at it and she goes, Doc, this is Avery. We were going over signs and symptoms. Mm-hmm. And I just looked at her and I said, you know what? You're right. This is Avery. And Avery was her then 5, 6, 7-year-old. She's 8 now. So yeah, 5-year-old then. And she literally, Christina was pregnant with her when she started working for me. So she is my baby. I've seen her I was one of the first ones to go visit her in the hospital. And completely different child from her other kids, super sweet, the most loving kid, but always had these dark circles under her eyes, was always tired. We were always telling her, getting on to her, be nice, play nice with your sister, falling asleep in school. Her grades weren't where they needed to be, or she wasn't quite academically where she needs. By the way, Chris makes fun of my accent. So if you guys hear me say different words in different ways, or see me or hear me in Indian.
I would never, ever make fun of
Do y'all see his nose growing? That's why. But we got to, I actually stopped at that point and I looked at her and I said, yes. And we created a checklist. And I was like, this is Avery. It's just a miniature version with different symptoms.
And if I used sound effects on this podcast, you would hear a slide whistle right now, because this is when you went further down the rabbit hole.
I did. And it broke my heart that nobody was talking about this. So I said, okay, we're going to get her a sleep study first, because the units we had in the practice were not approved for kids.
Which ones are you using? Are you using the watch pad, or are you using the Aries, or what are you using?
Right now we have 5, 6, 7 different units.
Right.
So we have the watch pad, we have the Z machine, we have, there's a lot.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but none of those units really are indicated in children at this point.
Correct. For children, the standard of care is a hospital-based
PSG
sleep study. Yes. And so that was another battle, getting to have her get sent for a sleep study.
Well, because you're just a dentist. Why the hell would a doctor listen to you, right? Because you're not a real doctor.
Honestly, of course, you heard me rant about all this, but
I'm poking the bear, guys.
yeah, but he gets to listen to all this because I'll text and go like, can you believe what they said? But literally I had a local pediatrician tell me, why don't you just stick with cleaning teeth? Are you for real? So that was a battle. Thankfully, mom was motivated enough and knew enough to do something about this.
You're so much nicer than I am.
God, I keep you around for a reason.
Yeah,
so we got this sleep study and she's positive, right? And of course, I've looked at her tonsils. They need to come out. That was a whole different story. Tonsils were taken out. And then this is what got me. They told her, she's fixed. This is it. She's fixed.
Well, obviously they did a PSG to follow up, right? Oh,
That's when I said, show me the numbers. Show me the numbers. Is your practice profitable? Yes. Well, show me the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly like that. And her AHI was a 8.4 before she went in to have her tonsils out. After she had them out, it was a 6 point something.
Which, for those of you who do adult sleep apnea, because I know there are quite a few out there who are in our audience, an 8.4, you might be thinking, well, I mean, that's for an adult. Yeah, they've got sleep apnea, but it's almost borderline. But for a kid, things are much, much different.
Yes, but just to drive home the point, yes, the 8 is, like you said, borderline. It is still mild.
Yes.
And for docs, patients, whoever present this argument to me, it's borderline, do I really need it? My answer to that is either you're pregnant or you're not.
Absolutely.
You have it or you don't, and it needs to be addressed.
I was sitting here thinking about wondering if I am or not. I don't know. I hope this new diet works.
You're such a mess.
So
we went back. Yeah. And she still had it. So one more battle, right? We're just constantly still fighting. So for docs that say, how do I connect with sleep MDs? How do I connect with ENTs? I understand the struggle is real. Been there, done that, still doing it.
How do I get paid? How do I help people who...
It can be done. You just need systems. You just need systems in place. And so she was given a CPAP and she absolutely adored her CPAP because she felt amazing when she woke up in the morning.
Right.
But you and I know that we don't want her in that CPAP all her life. For one, it's never going away if she's dependent on that CPAP. What are the chances we're going to develop central apneas over time?
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, you remember that? That was the day I got cupcakes because I cried so hard. Yes.
Who the hell would get you cupcakes?
I don't know. I have a friend.
They were.
And
cupcakes.
they were good.
They weren't actually cupcakes.
Yeah, it was love in the form of a cupcake. It was a hug.
No, they were little miniature bunt cakes.
It's still a cupcake. So I had to come up with, what can I do? Yes, I understand. She needed whatever she needed. She needed to be expanded. But what am I going to do while we're expanding her? Because that CPAP is preventing the growth of her premaxilla. How that mask has to be tied on.
I just read the 2019, because I do stupid shit like this, as you know. I just read the 2019 AAO statement on sleep apnea, American Academy of Orthodontists. And so they said, basically, even though orthodontic treatment can cause these things to occur, and even though we know when the opposite happens, that it helps sleep apnea, we don't believe, and no follow-up studies have shown that there's a higher incidence in sleep apnea of people that we either extract the premolars or what have you. But then they did, interestingly enough, even though when you extract those premolars, you're closing down that arch space, they did mention how a CPAP could force the premaxilla backwards and reduce the intraoral space, resulting in nasopharyngeal restriction, or constriction, I should say. And that any MD who wants to treat sleep apnea should consider adding an orthodontist to their team. I thought that was a rather artful little circle around the truth.
That's how we respond.
So anyway, I didn't know.
So-
Have you read that yet? It's about 57 pages long.
There are things I comment on and things I don't. So yeah, I needed to give her something that was going to help her breathe while we were growing her to where she needed to be. And that was my why. And thankfully, I was able to use her, because I can see that child every day if I want to, and make changes and say, this is going to work this way. What if I added this? What I took this away? And it's, it's been years in the making, to getting the patent out on it, to working with labs. And
that's a podcast for another day. But yeah, it's anytime that you go out of the mainstream of drill and fill, it's a challenge. I mean, as you know, I have my, should I call them tentacles? I call them fingers. My fingers in a lot of different things.
Tentacles.
It's creepy tentacles. But anyway, it is difficult. It really is, particularly whenever you're dealing with egos. And the best of labs have the biggest of egos. I should definitely say.
You know what? I'm going to be graceful here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And say, this is unknown. Nobody wants to attach themselves to something or someone that hasn't been proven.
Absolutely.
Although I will say we got Avery off of her CPAP, which I'm rather proud of. And
so what was her reduction in AHI?
She's down to a 0.
That's fantastic.
And
so
I think I've shared the screenshot of that study with you.
You have, but we're on a podcast. I want them to hear what
I know.
So this is what happens when you interview your friends. They don't follow the rules. So anyway, for those of you who don't do sleep apnea, a reduction to 1/2 of the normal value,
50% is considered success,
or below a 5.
In adults. In children, 1 is they're considered positive. So we want to, and what that means is basically that's how many times they're stopping breathing every hour of the night. 1 time every hour for 10 seconds or longer.
My apologies, 10 seconds.
He needs a refresher course.
I do need a refresher course.
Is enough for me, because what is the damage that's happening and how long? It's at least 10 seconds. We've seen how many studies that they've stopped breathing longer.
Absolutely. I had one guy who had a cessation of breathing for like 1.5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And that's scary. His SP, I told you about him. Remember, he brought his dad in and I forced him to get in the chair and I said, you have sleep apnea. I can't tell you that, but you need a test.
Yeah.
Well, that guy, 1.5 minutes, his SpOT got down to like 80%. And I mean, that's bad.
You're not in the group anymore, are you? I posted one where their lowest oxygen was 56. It scared everything out of me. I was like, you need to.
Brain death begins to occur under 80.
I said, I'm not even going to entertain. I'm telling you, you have to use a CPAP. You need to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Maxillary advancement device, and we're going to drill some holes in your head.
It just stuff like that. I was like, how are you functioning?
So, with all this being said, I'm sure that people out there at this point, if they're following along with this, are asking, well, Doc, why do you have this person on the podcast? This podcast is about business. So, let's talk about the financials whenever we're adding this type of a treatment modality to our practices. I'm going to let you talk entirely about that because I have some things I can't say because of my NDAs with the.
Okay, well, this isn't about you anyways.
It's always about me.
It never is. He just thinks it is.
So talk to us a little bit about what can a dentist expect? I mean, they're going to get rich, right?
If you want to, absolutely. There is nothing wrong with getting rich.
Usually she kicks me when I say something
But
like that.
it's going to
She's
happen
nice, very
off
nice.
screen. He's
Thank
going to show up tomorrow's live like a black guy.
Mhm.
But you're adding a profit center. If that's all that you're looking at, yeah, you're adding not one, not two, multiple profit centers to the practice. You're billing medical if you're treating adult sleep apnea. If you start to treat kids, that's another profit center, adding myofunctional therapy, adding frenectomies. More importantly, and I think more of us get into healthcare to make a difference. The money is good. You do the right thing, the money comes. But I don't think there's anything more rewarding than that. You're changing lives, you're saving lives, if we think we get the satisfaction and joy when we change somebody's smile, which I do all day, every day. I am not a sleep dentist. I love my buccal pits just as much as he loves his implants.
And your class too, right?
But, oh, hell no, that's you.
Kids
Am
still
I
class
out to
twos.
cut? Yeah, this is yours is PG.
No dentist likes
yeah.
class twos except those crazy people.
Whose first initial is a C and the last one is an H. But if that is the joy that it gives you when you've done those 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, whatever number of veneers or implant cases that you do, but when you have a wife that walks into your operatory to give you a hug because she can now sleep because she's not worried that her husband is going to stop breathing, or the 14-year-old teenage boy who runs down the hallway to give you a hug because he has not had an accident in 3 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will
remember
take
when
that.
you told me about that one. So let's move things back along toward the hard financials.
Mhm,
What are you looking at whenever you're doing sleep appliance?
mhm.
What are you looking at in overhead? What's your lab fee like? How many visits is it?
By way of visits, you could actually technically start this in your hygiene appointment. You don't even need to market for anything. So there's that. If people think they have to market for this, we have this whole pool of patients.
Mm-hmm.
You can technically
sitting in your chair.
Correct. You could start at your hygiene appointment. You're doing impressions and or scans and sending stuff out to the lab. As to what your lab bill is, it depends on what lab you're using.
Right. Give us a range. In fact, we have to do ranges for everything just so that we stay safe.
I still don't know exact prices, so you're safe there with me.
Okay, so your range in your price is going to be between $150 and $900, depending upon which lab you go with and which appliance you go with.
Correct.
Particularly whenever you start getting into your dual function appliances that they can wear with their CPAP, depending on how it's going to connect there, it may go up to $1,200.
There's a lot of it depends. Yes, there is a range. And
is that about what you're paying to for the combinations?
I wouldn't know. I'll have to get back to you.
Cool. Because if you're not and you're paying less, I want to know.
I want to go funny. So, well, I always share with you. So there's that. As to what can you make? What do you make for the appliances? I think that's more your question.
A range.
I have seen anything from $2,000 to $10,000.
And that's with medical reimbursement, guys.
Right. Dental will not pay for this. So don't waste your time, energy, team members, anything on that. So it truly depends on so many factors. Absolutely. Where are you at? What labs are you using? What do you feel comfortable charging? There's so much that goes into it.
Now, one of the other things, and it's a point I was hoping you were going to make here, is like a denture. Okay, so a denture, if you're doing it technically, the exact prosthodontic way, you're looking at 6 to 8 visits, depending upon how picky your patient is about aesthetics and yada, yada, yada. But those are all free visits, as I like to call them, because they're all baked into the cost of doing this denture. You charge a unit price, here you go. But this is much more like going to the hospital.
Correct. Well, because with this, you are working with medical insurance. So your baked in visits, as you said, is your impressions you deliver and your 30-day follow-up, your 1 month follow-up. I do a 2-week, as I know you do as well. Up to that 1
Soon
month.
enough for stuff to start happening that you can stop, that you won't be able to stop in a month.
Up to that 1 month appointment is included. All of these subsequent appointments, and for the first year, we know there are a few more until it becomes an annual visit. All of that gets billed. All of that gets paid by medical, if that is what you choose to use. But that is still production on your books for the time that you are spending with that patient. It's not a free visit, as you called it.
Right. Now, if you aren't billing medical, it's very, very important that you make sure you've got some form of financing in your practice for these cases, because you don't want your inability to help them find financing to be the reason that a person dies of a heart attack.
There's no reason to not bill medical, though. And
laziness is a reason.
Like anything else,
you said no reasons. It's not a good reason.
There is no reason why we should not be billing medical.
I said laziness.
Stop it. We're going to kick him out.
Who's going to run the cameras? Anyway, so yes.
All you need is systems in place.
So where are they going to learn how to do that, though? I mean, where are they going to learn how to bill medical? You're going to teach them how to diagnose this.
No. I was going to say that. Screen and treat.
And how to talk to their physicians.
How to bill medical, how to get paid, what follow-ups to do.
Have you looked also at all the different devices, HSTs, and which HST machines are the least expensive to operate with the highest standards?
Correct.
So you're going to save them some trouble as well.
What your disposables are, yes. And now there are some states that will not let you use HSTs. So
I love my watch pad, but it's expensive to run.
It is very expensive to
Hers
run.
is much better. Much better.
So there are a ton of great machines out there that you could use, but yeah. So yes, you do learn how to go to medical.
A friend of mine is a sonographer. You remember JT?
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me the other day, he's like, Doc, why aren't you using such and such? I said, because it's freaking $15,000. That's why I'm not using it. And I think the expendable cost was like $250 or something. It was outrageous. I mean, outrageous. There's no way. I looked at it. There was no way you could possibly be reimbursed enough for the sleep study to not lose money every time you screen somebody.
Yeah.
So, such is our lot in life.
Yes. So, and I know I've shared it with your team. We've trained your team as well. All you need is good systems.
Absolutely.
Literally.
And people who are willing to follow them. And that just takes some leadership. So you can teach them leadership as well.
For sure.
Okay, there you go. So all joking aside, I think this is a great course. I think that what you have chosen to do with your beautiful brain is a wonderful thing for people. And so
thank you.
You're quite welcome. And thank you for sharing your knowledge with me. I'm going to ask you, as I always ask, if you will share some just pearls of wisdom out there. Let's say there's somebody who, for some reason, can't afford to go to your course. Just silly, because your course is not that much. They can't afford to go to your course. They are brand new out of dental school. They've got dental loans. They've got practice loans. And they have been reading up on sleep apnea. They're just like, I want to start this, but I'm afraid of medical billing and blah, 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 blah. You know the top 10. And I'm going to ask you to give the top 10 reasons people don't do this, because I know you survey your clients. So tell us what those 10 reasons are and maybe how to fix them, or just give us your top 10 pearls on dealing with insurance.
That's a whole course in itself, but I will start with this. If anybody ever thinks, and this is especially true for the new grads, because some of the posts I'm going, how do I say this nicely without actually hurting feelings? But now is the time to get trained. I cannot tell you, and I know you are the same. You look back at cases.
You look at everything differently.
And it changes how you look at your patients. It changes your treatment plans. It
I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say this. It will make your dentistry last longer.
it absolutely will. Absolutely.
For a multitude of reasons, actually.
Absolutely. When you have a child in your practice, there is just zero reason to not treat them. Do I want an adult that I have to fix with an appliance, or do I want a child that I can actually guide growth, grow that airway to give them that better start in life? And there's zero reasoning. Nothing is worth more than getting that addressed. And if you think about what it's going to cost, what you're spending on the course, you are probably making back with one patient, if not two. And in my brain, it's just like, there is just no reason to not incorporate this within your practice. Your dentistry lasts longer. You're scared of medical billing? Like, for real. I was scared of extractions when I got into dental school, and I was scared of blood, and I'm still scared of bugs. You find yourself a bug catcher. And
wait, I didn't know it was a bug catcher.
Yes, you are.
And by the way, for those of you who are watching the video rather than listening to the podcast, my apologies. One of my lights batteries just went out, and that's why she looks like
shit.
She's possessed or something.
Stop it.
Waiting for her head to start spinning around.
Oh my God.
Tips. Give us your top 5 or 10 freebies here. They're going to bill medical. Obviously, they really need to know how to bill medical.
Absolutely, bill medical. Yes.
They're not going to say that they're a what?
They're not going to say what?
They're not going to say that they are a what?
I don't know.
Don't tell them you're a dentist. Don't talk about teeth and stuff.
Oh.
That's the kind of tips I meant. Just the little things that you teach us in class that anybody who's been successful at it has figured out through trial and error, so that they don't have to. So top 10.
Okay.
Don't tell me you're a dentist.
I don't listen to him. I will tell you guys this though. Get your team trained. Do you agree?
I agree. Absolutely.
Sleepa's team it's a team run part of your practice. And
no, the doctor should go too.
Well, of course.
Well, there's a lot of people out there who are going to send their teams, and I've seen this a lot. And this is something you and I discussed that upsets me. Whenever a doctor goes themselves and then comes in Monday morning and they're on fire, by Wednesday it's all over, right? That we all know that. Or a doctor who sends only his team and doesn't ever learn himself or herself.
So I can tell you with me that will not happen.
Right. You
will not be able to do that. So that automatically discounts that. But yes, as you said, doctors that go in, and I know with you came alone or with your hygienist, and then the following 2, 3, 4 courses that would be like team members getting trained because.
Yep. I need somebody to answer the phones.
We all do. But okay, so to go back to, I don't want to leave you where top 10 tips for what?
Top 10 tips for success in sleep and billing medical insurance. This way you can 3 of one, 4 of the other, wherever you want.
Like I said, team is 1.
Still only 7 though.
Huh? What?
3 of one and 4 of the others. Only 7. You need 3 more.
Oh my God, you have ADD. Cannot focus.
No, I did it on purpose because
I know you're trying to throw me off. I'm trying to wrap my head around what is the question now? And then it's like 3 of one, 4 of the other.
So your top 10.
Get your team trained. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
But
there's going to be some like stuff
there will
being
be bruising and hematomas. Yes. So,
there is going to be stuff that's going to get thrown.
Bruising and hematomas. Did you hear that? So I was so afraid of repeating myself. So anyway, top 10. Number 1 is get your team trained.
I think you had one. Don't tell them you're a dentist.
Don't tell them you're a dentist. If you're billing medical insurance, guys, do not tell them you're a dentist. Don't talk about teeth. Learn how to use correct medical terminology. Number 3.
I can't even. Well, you've taken the course. Let's see how much attention you were paying.
Oh man.
Okay,
Really?
talk to every patient. Hygiene should be screening each and every patient. Okay. This is something everybody can start tomorrow, because I know most of y'all are going to watch this tonight. Ask your patients, how are you sleeping? Start having those conversations, because whether or not it's the patient that has a problem, I'm sure they have a child, a niece, a nephew, a husband, a friend, a neighbor, a grandpa, somebody that snores, friend that snores. And
True story.
they don't know that they have options. So talk about it.
You're not including the friends, the aunts, and the uncles. Each individual tips, are you?
No,
I saw you counting.
You're such a mess. That was tip number 5?
That was tip number 5.
Okay. Put up posters. I know this sounds stupid, but in your bathroom.
And how long after I got my posters did it take for me to put them up?
This is not about you.
This
is about the doctors you're going to help.
I put mine up before Glenn Vo. That's all I want to know. He put his up first. Oh no. I'm taking that part out of the podcast. So put up posters so that people see them.
So that people know that this is a service that you offer within the practice. Educate your patients. Nothing works better than the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 100 patients that we have within our practices. Right? What else?
Got 2 more. That was 8.
Oh my God. I'm sure we snuck in a few.
There was some pearls back in the back section and it's before this. You've learned everything in the course now, people. Okay, so the things that we should be looking for. Rapid fire, real quick. Snoring.
Sleep apnea.
Well, I mean, next symptom.
Oh, we said rapid fire.
Try that again. We're going to try that again.
My God.
I'm taking snoring again. So
okay.
Sheet off of it.
Okay.
All right, so in adults and children, snoring.
Are we doing, let's do separate adults and
separate?
children.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Can I just kind of start children?
Okay.
Okay. How many do you want to do each?
5.
5 each. Ooh. Okay. Okay. For children, if you have a child who, first of all, is a bedwetter. Second of all, has nighttime bruxism. Third of all, if they snore. Fourth, if they have trouble in school. Fifth, if they have what we call poor sleep hygiene. They wake up with their pillow in the neighbor's yard. Those are 5 very good signs that that child has sleep apnea. You're 5.
Dude, you took away all the signs. Sleepwalking, sleep talking.
You told me 5, man.
Nightmares or parasomnias. Those are big ones. Did you say bedwetting?
Yeah.
Okay. We said night terrors or nightmares, sleepwalking. Shh, stop. Let me focus. Snoring, clenching, and grinding. I'm just going to go over all of it because who listens to him? ADD, ADHD.
Yes.
Trouble focusing at school.
Yes. Medicated children. Make sure you put that on your question. I'm sorry for interrupting, but change your intake form. Ask if they're medicated for any kind of hyperactivity or attention deficit disorder. Huge sign.
List of medications, and this applies to adults as well as kids. We are seeing an increase in the number of kids, especially post-COVID, that are on antidepressants. Those impact REM sleep. So we want to make sure we're talking.
And respiratory drive and that's horrible. Who came up with that phrase, over-medicated and underdiagnosed? That's just the most beautiful
habits,
thing I've ever heard.
Thumb sucking, tongue thrust. If you have children where's that laser? I thought I saw it outside. Can start releasing.
I didn't give that one yet.
If you have a child that has seen a SLP, they have speech therapy, either in school, evaluating what is going on with their tongue, evaluating where the palate is. that's a whole different, but those are questions to ask. Mouth breathing is a big one. If we're noticing kids in the practice, and I know you have TVs, we have TVs, or even if they're on their phone, they're sitting there with open mouth posture. We have to connect the dots. Adults are easy, right? They present in a box, what I call sleep in a box. Kids, 5 kids, 7 symptoms. They could all be positive. What?
Oh, that awful song. Okay, so we rewrote this song for my dental school to be skull in a box, but that is not what the song is. Open the box. Anyway, no, seriously, you should listen to the song.
I will on another day, another episode of the Dear Doc
Do
podcast.
you know the song I'm talking about?
Nope.
Oh, this is even funnier then. Wait until you hear it whenever we're done here. You're going to kick me so hard. So you were saying sleep in a box, adults, presentation.
So that was kids. And then for adults, we're looking for snoring, choking, or gasping. Waking up in the middle of the night to go use the restroom. And yes, my men are going to say it's our prostate. We're getting old. I'm 46 now. I'm 47 now. I got to go pee multiple times at night. No. Let's look further. Folks that are on multiple medications for hypertension.
Absolutely.
What else? Did I cover choking, gasping, clenching, and grinding? That is a big one. What else did I miss? The medication.
Spousal arousal syndrome.
Yes.
Self non-arousal syndrome. Yes, sleep apnea will cause impotence.
Absolutely.
Did I tell you Shannon told me she used it? So every one of my podcasts is labeled as explicit because #me.
Hashtag no filter.
No filter. I've got a filter. There's lots
Hashtag
of things
me.
I don't say.
Hashtag me.
So I had a guy in my chair one day, and I had been bothering him about sleep apnea because he's destroying his teeth, and he needs a full mouth restoration. And I'm telling you, look, you need to get the sleep apnea treated. If you want anything that we do to last, you need to get the sleep apnea treated. He was just very resistant to it. And one day I looked at him and I said, hey, I know we've talked about this a few times, and this is the last time I'm going to bother you about it, but I think you have sleep apnea. I think you should get a sleep test. And he says, Doc, I feel fine. And I said, I don't know if I ever mentioned it or not, but it'll make your dick stop working. And I walked off. And he goes, whoa, wait. And I said, what? What's the matter? It'll make what? I said, it causes impotence. Doc, you should have led with that. I will never forget that. So, and he did end up getting a sleep study. He did have sleep apnea. It was pretty severe too.
I know we had a 24-year-old that walked into the practice, and for that reason,
he came to your practice for impotence.
Correct, because he tried everything else. And I said, well, you really need a CPAP, because I'm not going to talk somebody out of it. Poor guy. It's like, Doc, I can't make things work. And now we're going to put a CPAP on me. Can I just get one of them appliances so it at least looks like I'm wearing a mouth guard? I was like, yes, you most certainly can.
I don't wear this because my pee-pee doesn't work. I wear it to keep my smile beautiful. It's an advanced retainer.
Can't even with you.
Yeah. So guys, you have, actually, I've got 7 minutes left. I want you to talk to them about the over-the-shoulder. We're not talking about that line from Beaches either.
Whatever.
Over-the-shoulder class.
How about I give them a little bit of information on the 6 weeks and 7 days.
That sounds great. Talk to us about it.
Okay. So this is going to be a live one-on-one boot camp intensive on adult sleep apnea, active implementation within the practice. Every week after every meeting, live Zoom meeting that we have, you'll leave with actionable steps. What you need to be doing within your practice in that week, so that by the time we're done with those 6 weeks, you should have started at least one case. Because within that, at least the 7 days after, but usually what I find is, and I do very few of these, within those 6 weeks, with the actionable steps, if you and your team do what we ask of you, there's absolutely zero reason you shouldn't start a case or get paid.
Okay. And how much does this cost?
$4,500
Okay.
per doctor.
All right. Fantastic. Are teams welcome to watch as well?
Correct. So teams are welcome to log in with the doctors, because the goal is to get that implementation after me just going on a rant about how teams need to be trained. Very much so. And there is active support during those weeks. There is the option for support after we are done. There is as much or as little hand-holding that doctors may want.
Okay, fantastic. So guys, Meghna, thank you for joining us. And
Thank you for
joining me in studio. It's been a while since I've had a guest here because...
Oh, where's my mask?
So guys, if you have lasted through the entire podcast, thank you so much for your patience. I always have a great time whenever I get to visit with my friends. And you have now wasted nearly an hour of your life listening to the sound of my voice.
I
hope you're
disagree.
proud of
They were listening to me. There's some value in that.
Well, that is true. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting the podcast, and have a fantastic day. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Dear Doc podcast, your source for the business and legal questions associated with your dental practice. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dear Doc podcast on all major platforms.